Going on, folks? Hey, Bison Burger. Thanks for joining the channel, my friend. See me on X Daily. I see you here too. So it's really cool that you jumped in. This one's was something we got to call out though here. Guajino. What's up, brother? I said quiet in here. That's his name. Says what's up. It's good to see you. Gorilla Grodd, long on AMC. Little exchange is the way. What's going on, Pulsar? Welcome black. Welcome black. So today, SEC Chair Hester Pierce, or should I say SEC Commissioner, whatever you want to call her, is proud to have worked against retail investors and gaslit people to make them think that she's doing us a favor. Hester Pierce says, "Today we put the cat on a diet. It will no longer be able to hoover up Americans' personally identifiable information." Guess what, Hester? All of the market makers, the wholesalers, the brokerages, the prime brokers have our information already, including a large number of their hedge funds. Not only do they have our information, they have your name, your personal identifiers, your personal information, your order information. They know exactly what you want to buy, when you want to buy it, who you are, what your information is, all of those details. Your social security number. So if we're placing an order with Robinhood, Webull, IBKR, whatever brokerage, and Schwab is selling my order along with all these others and most every other brokerage in the world, is selling these orders to wholesalers like Citadel and Virtu. And Citadel and Virtu, as the market-making broker-dealer, has all of my order information, my personally identifiable information. Why is it that the SEC can't have our personally identifiable information in order to stop people from committing market manipulation? Look at Andrew Left. Andrew Left of Citron Capital, Citron Research, is currently facing 370 years in jail, in federal prison at that, for manipulating markets and getting people to hold his bag. Naked shorting and shorting stocks like GameStop and AMC and Tesla, putting out reports on them and then dumping them on unsuspecting people after putting out the report. But without the identifying information with his name attached to his orders, how would the DOJ and SEC ever have brought that case? They wouldn't have been able to. So now that the Consolidated Audit Trail can no longer identify people that manipulate markets, like Andrew Left of Citron Research, who is facing 370 years in federal prison, how is this good for any retail investor in the world other than those that are committing crimes and manipulating markets? It's absolutely not. So without Andrew Left's name attached to his account, so that the Securities Exchange Commission could see that he was tweeting out information about GameStop and Tesla and such, and then manipulating markets, how would they be able to connect his name in doing this with his account with his social media name? They wouldn't be able to. You see, they're trying to claim that it creates a identifier, right? An identifier without your name. But if Andrew Left's name was not on his account when they were looking at it in his trade data, how would the DOJ and Securities Exchange Commission known that Andrew Left was buying or selling at a certain time after having tweeted the opposite. They wouldn't have. The CAT system, Gia, has not been canceled. It has been crippled. It has been made nearly pointless. It is a repository of data that has almost no usage anymore. And as I stated here, we, the people, are for the CAT system. We are furious at the removal of personal identifiers from the CAT system, the Consolidated Audit Trail, where the SEC and DOJ can charge and prosecute those involved with stock market manipulation. Think of the CAT trail like a trail of breadcrumbs. That's why it's called a trail, right? It's consolidated, and they can audit the trail. Trails of orders placed in orders that are completed. Look at the comments on Hester Pierce's post. I tagged Donald Trump, RFK Jr., Elon Musk. Thankfully, RFK Jr. has tweeted me in the past, has tagged me on his tweet in the past, his post. So hopefully he sees it. But there's no way to track when an individual manipulates markets now on the Consolidated Audit Trail without the name portion, as it was removed from the CAT reporting. Well, let's take a look at Hester's replies. Let's see, what do the people say? KC Shaw says, this is not what the typical retail investor wants. We want transparency, and our information is already out there. Please stop acting in the interest of your financial donors and work for the people instead. Oh, this meme says a lot, doesn't it? This meme says a lot. Spider-Man getting a good look at Hester Pierce. The Wolf says, as predicted a few days ago, corruption has no preference. PNW Texan, this is so blatantly one-sided and intentional to avoid transparency. Why is nobody listening? The Wall Street cabal needs to be gutted and bad actors put on public display in a jumpsuit, rotten to the core. April calls Hester Pierce a financial terrorist. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the chat right now with what these people are saying. Yud 1979 in the chat asks, can the new chair restart the CAT? I think he's trying to say. The new chair that is still yet to be confirmed by the Senate that Donald Trump has appointed, but has not yet been confirmed, Paul Atkins, may in fact be able to reinstate these changes or fix these changes with the Consolidated Audit Trail. Danny's here says, we need to see the transparency in all positions in MMTLP. He doesn't think we need account info or social security numbers, but the matter of fact is, we do, my friend, but I respect your opinion, Danny. I think he's just more mad about MMTLP, and I don't blame you, because there was a lot of things that happened there that shouldn't have happened. Chris says, we aren't stupid. We know the last thing you guys are worried about is our protection. This was about your protection, and I have to agree with him on that. The time has come for a shakeup at the SEC, says the Donkey Kong. We need a real cop on the beat who isn't afraid to throw the book at those who play fast and loose with our markets. Retail investors are sick and tired of the status quo. Watching his fines seemed like little more than a slap on the wrist. Jawa says, you need to go to prison. People want the CAT system so you can see the corruption and manipulation you criminals at the SEC and all your Wall Street and market maker friends are involved in. We need the big balls, Elon Musk. Send them in. Send them in. Wow, this is some strong words too. You're a hedge fund hooker in every way, you coward, says Drew B8 for life. This is not good for any retail investor in any way, shape, or form. Then you post happy about it. You will be welcomed into the lake of fire in the app. Well, okay, I'll stop right there. We demand the CAT system after it has already shown it works. Trump and Elon should make an example out of you, says 401 Doge. If they do, I will finally believe the government represents the public interests. Yes, Jonathan. Jonathan says correct. That is financial terrorism. Now, I'm going to say one thing here, ladies and gentlemen. If you do not yet understand why Lit Exchange and a brokerage that routes your orders to lit markets automatically is so important, I think you need to look a little bit harder. I think you need to open your eyes a little bit more. Because as I stated to you, while some people are out there trying to help us, we cannot count on the regulators to do the right thing every time. We have to take charge and make the change that we want ourselves. What's going on, Zachary? Great to see you, brother. Flavius says, get the cross. Holy shit. Hey, goodness, welcome, my friend. Alex, Mama Bear, let's light up X with the truth. You know, and a lot of people will, and they are. Look at these comments. Look at these responses. This is ridiculous. Forex in Stocks says, you are protecting short sellers who purposely try to destroy American companies. This happens over and over again. Their goal is to bankrupt American companies so they never have to cover their short positions. Crystal P says, we know it's about not protecting American identities. Now the cabal's identity to which securities they make it short if they agree. So you just made it meaningless, says Show Me the Cash. You already just allow hedge funds and institutions to illegally short stocks. Way to be just another part of the captured regulators. And this goes on and on and on for ages. Welcome to the channel, Antonio. Good to see you, my friend. And I'm sorry if that was really loud, people. I just turned down the volume on that. My apologies if that blew out your eardrums, but I just turned that volume down for that big time. But yeah, a lot of angry people, everybody. I have not seen a single person, a retail investor, that has said anything positive whatsoever in all of these hundreds of posts that I'm going through right now. And I think that kind of really should explain to you guys just how bad this is for retail investors. Now, I'm not out here trying to upset people, but I'm furious. You should be furious. And if you're not, it probably means you don't understand what's going on. And what's going on here is the fact that without the personally identifiable information, such as somebody's name connected to a trade, they won't be able to catch people that are pumping and dumping stocks. They won't be able to catch people that are creating bag holders. They won't be able to catch people that are out there, talking poorly about a company to get that company to go down in value and then selling off their shares or buying short at the bottom. This is market manipulation. So without the person's name, they would have never caught Andrew Left of Citron Research, for example. And there are many others out there that have recently quit social media, ring a bell, like Citron Research, that have basically been put into the public eye right here. But as I stated, look at all these comments. Hundreds and hundreds of people just furious with Hester Pierce. Rowley says, you must think people are stupid if your idea of good news is a reduction in the CAT system's case of capabilities. Some of these I'm not even going to read out loud. You can read them for yourself on my screen if you want. Christian says, you are routinely always voting against retail investors and siding with hedge funds and market makers. Now you do this. POTUS, she deserves a jail cell. Doge, you need to investigate the SEC and analyze her emails. And you know what? This is, of course, the person who is in charge of cryptocurrency now under the SEC. So the good news is there probably will be very lax regulation on cryptocurrency. The bad news is there probably will be very lax regulation on cryptocurrencies. It's a double-edged sword, right? They could be a very good thing and it could be a very bad thing. But at the end of the day, when you look at the facts, the SEC stated they provided an exemption from the requirement to report certain personally identifiable information, such as names, addresses, and years of birth, to the Consolidated Audit Trail for natural persons. Now, they're trying to claim that because of data breaches and yada yada, but at the end of the day, let's see, SEC charged Virtu for market manipulation. Virtu, the hedge fund, got your information, including all of this personal information that they're talking about here, your name, your address, year of birth, your social security number, how many shares you wanted to buy or sell, when, where, how, all of this. And then they gave it from their market maker to their hedge fund, not just for a period of a short while, but many, many, many months, if not even years, as a matter of fact. At a time when the SEC said, at a time when Virtu Americas handled around a quarter of all market orders placed by retail investors in the U.S., we allege that proprietary traders had nearly unfettered access to material non-public information about its institutional customers' trades, information which could be used for personal gain. Meaning, when you routed your orders through Robinhood, Webull, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, and they went to Virtu Americas, according to the director of the SEC's Division of Enforcement, Virtu Americas, the market maker, allowed their hedge fund to front run your trades, to see your name and your address and what you wanted to buy or sell, and make sure that they made as much money as possible and you didn't. They said, we further allege that Virtu repeatedly misled institutional customers and the market about how Virtu's Americas was protecting this valuable data to generate significant commissions. Guess what? They make money, you lose money. Today's enforcement not only holds Virtu accountable for its failings, but also sends a strong message to firms that they must do much more than use shared generic usernames and passwords to protect against and prevent the misuse of material non-public information. See what I'm saying, folks? During a 15-month period when Virtu failed to establish blah, 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 they misled customers about the existence and adequacy of such information barriers. Virtu overstated controls, barriers, and processes they had in place to secure its institutional customers' post-execution trade data, and in other falsely represented to those customers that only employees with a need to see such information, a group that did not include their hedge fund traders, could do so. And they did this from January of 2018 all the way through April of 2019. That is just one instance of many. They purportedly operated two businesses that it's purported to have walled off from each other. An order execution service called a market-making broker-dealer and a hedge fund, which they made their own money. So as you can see here, in their market-making broker-dealer, Virtu Americas executed customer orders, typically for a commission, and their hedge fund, the proprietary trading business, through which Virtu bought and sold securities for themselves and their own accounts and benefits. These guys already have the information. The market makers, the brokerages, all of these firms, the broker-dealers, the prime brokerages, the banks, have all your personal information. So hiding it from the Securities Exchange Commission, regulators, and the Department of Justice is not doing any retail investor any favor. Hey, Eagle Eye, welcome, my friend. How does she have the authority to do that? Hester Pierce didn't do it by herself. Hester Pierce and Mark Ueda, I believe, worked together with the other people on the commission in order to vote. So there was a vote. Okay? So, Angel Madrano says, with all due respect, I remember you happy about Hester Pierce being in the office at the SEC. Angel, I think you're misremembering incorrectly. Like I said, the fact that she's in charge of cryptocurrency is a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing for a lot of people. In my opinion, a very bad thing because Hester Pierce voted against short-selling transparency regulations. Hester Pierce voted against a lot of the other, the fair markets regulations and so on and so on. So yeah, I do think that you're remembering incorrectly. The one that I am happy about is to see that Paul Atkins, who has not yet been approved by the Senate to be the SEC chair. And for the record, I got to set something straight. A lot of people think Paul Atkins was the chair during the crash of 2008, and that is incorrect. Before the market crashed in September, Paul Atkins actually walked away in August of 2008 and left the stock market with basically all set up for the SEC to crush shorts and naked shorts, illegal abusive shorting. And they turned the other way and did the exact opposite. Again, what's the point here? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the point is that they're not going to go out of their way to help us. All right? We've got to do it ourselves. That's the whole point of Lit Exchange. Go to Lit Exchange, learn a little something about the company and how that's going to protect you, okay? Because it is going to make a big deal when orders are automatically routed to lit markets opposed to everything going to dark pools. Because that's exactly what's happening right now. Everything is going to the dark pools. And so far, over 300 retail investors have invested nearly $600,000 in Lit Exchange. Now, I bring this to you because instead of going to hedge funds, like other firms have done, every other firm has done this. Every other stock brokerage firm that didn't have, big money coming out of their ears from working on Wall Street already, went to a hedge fund to get money. Now, instead of doing that, as we are the only brokerage in the world for retail by retail that is up and coming and will expecting to launch here in late 2025 or early 2026, we're giving you the opportunity to own the company. So again, this has never been done before. An upcoming stock and crypto brokerage has never allowed retail investors to invest in the private equity of the company. And that's the chance that you have now. You have a chance to own equity share ownership in Lit Exchange. And when we IPO as planned in the near future, you will then have the ability to sell your shares for what we believe to be a very significant profit. Of course, there's risk involved with any investments, but all of our disclosures are there. We have pitch decks, business plans, independent auditors reports, offering memorandums, investor disclosures. You can see our disclosures on the SEC Edgar website as well, because of course, even though we disagree with a lot of things the SEC and FINRA do, we are still going to follow all regulations to make sure that we are properly following the law, because we are not like them. They're not like us. We're actually doing things that need to be done to make sure we protect retail investors. And we are not going to break the law in the process. So all of our filings are being visible on the SEC Edgar website. We will be moving forward here in the very near future. And you have the opportunity to own equity share ownership in the company. There's a lot of highlights, a lot of information there for you guys to review. And I highly recommend that you do that if you have money to invest. Because if you're going to put it in the stock market at all-time highs, you might as well consider putting it in private equity and invest in a company that has significant potential for growth, especially considering it's not even on the stock market yet. So when it does get listed on the stock market, you will have significant opportunity to make financial gains. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it there. I wish you peace and wealth. Have a great rest of your day. Join us. Be a part of history. This is the first time in the history of the world that anyone, any company like this, has ever offered you the chance. And it's likely the only time it will ever happen.